All right, welcome to LaChance Encounters. I'm here with Crystal Perham, broker and owner of East Key Realty. Essentially, the closest thing I have to a boss, mentor, friend, great person, and I'm happy to be here with you today. I came here because I respect so much of what you've done by starting your own company. I came over working with you when there were 10 of us,
Yeah.
and I've watched you grow. How many agents do we have now?
99.
99 agents.
Yeah.
And you started what, 2019?
2019.
So in
Yeah.
6 years, you've grown from yourself to 99 agents.
Yeah.
And my favorite part is your story about why you decided to do it. So why don't you go ahead and put that on camera?
I got in the business in 2008 and the market was like wild, right? Because there's foreclosures, there's foreclosures. And I started with a big company. And then, the split, the compensation kind of was really lousy at that company. Being a new agent, you don't usually get the top tier compensation package.
I started at 50-50.
Yeah, so that's where I started as well. But this company also had franchise fees and other compensation that just was not favorable to the agent. And it was totally different time, right? Because we didn't have like the Zillows and Zillow didn't exist. Facebook was barely getting started. Like Zuckerberg was still in college when I started in the business. So you got your leads the old school way, sign calls, things like that. It was definitely difficult, right? Because it was a lot of like pounding the pavement, calling, just getting out there, meeting people the old school way. You worked really hard. And in that market, you had to work even harder, right? Because buyers were gone, right? In '08, the market just collapsed. So I had moved back home and I took some time off. And before I had left Las Vegas, where I initially got licensed, I had moved to a company that had a compensation structure similar to ours now, where the agents really kept majority of their money. So when I came back here I got relicensed in 2012, there just wasn't anything out there that allowed the agent to keep the majority of their money, right? Majority was big companies, huge compensation splits that favored the brokerage. And times had really changed because we did have Zillow and ways to get leads, but I just was not loving it, right? I was like, this stinks. It blows. My first commission check out here was for over $10,000, and I think I saw about 4,500 of it. It was
That's nuts.
brutal. And so, I stayed at that company for a little bit and I moved around some, went to some other big companies, slowly made a name for myself. So as, I moved, I was able to negotiate something a little better. But we just didn't really have anything like our brokerage currently is. And I knew that model could work. In 2018, I lost my grandmother, and she was a realtor for over 40 years, who when I was young, helping her kind of exposed me a little bit to the business. And so when I lost her last brokerage, she was paying a crazy split, like crazy. They were really taking advantage of her.
Were they
And
doing it to everybody? Or was it specifically her
it was,
as an older lady?
I
Didn't know
believe
how
it was
the
everybody.
Okay.
I believe it was everybody. That just was their model,
Yeah.
right? But it came with a huge franchise fee, huge split. And then there was some kind of weird things going on in the office where, they'd ask that agent to come in and do some uptime where you get your calls. And then
For the
they would
people who aren't in
want,
real estate, uptime is sitting at the desk at the brokerage you work with and not getting paid for it
correct.
and answering, being a secretary for the whole brokerage on hopes that somebody calls that doesn't already work with an agent at your brokerage and you can.
Yeah, but
You
what
can
was
work with them.
happening at this brokerage, right, was that they had a secretary that would then answer the phone. And if it was a good lead, it would get passed to the broker and then sold back to whoever was on uptime for even a bigger split, right? So for years before she got ill, I had told her, Greg, you got to move. Like, you got to leave, right? Yeah. Like, there's better out there for you, even though you're at like the end of your career, right? You can be making more on the transaction. And she just was a creature of habit, right? So, and I think a lot of people who get set in their ways are.
I think we see it all the time of people sit in horrible situations in real estate when there's great options out there like East Key, and you're not the only one that has these better commission models. And
Yeah.
people still sit there in some of these old school brokerages. It's kind of wild. But yeah, keep
Yeah.
going on,
So
go on,
no,
go.
that's okay. Yeah, I totally agree. Right. And so even back then, right, there was nothing, right? Even if she jumped, it might have been for a 10% swing or, a 15% swing. But they always got the money in the end, right?
Right.
It really made it hard. And then what a lot of people don't understand if you're not in the real estate industry is, they see those big numbers when we go to close. That's not all ours, right?
Right.
We got to pay Uncle Sam. We paid for gas. We paid for leads. We paid for all these things. Just to, business expenses, right? Because it is a business. And if you get in, you're a subcontractor, right? It's your business. So after I had bounced around brokerages a couple times, things got a little better. Like each time I left, I was making a little more. I was able to negotiate a little better, but it still always seemed like a lot, right? If you, a cap, the cap was like 30K or 25K. And that wasn't all you were paying. That was just like transaction fee, right? But if they had other fees.
Yeah, I actually didn't even, because my first brokerage didn't have a cap. So there was no end to how much to me paying commission. So I came over and had a cap with you. I didn't realize for a while that some of these companies are charging people after they quote unquote cap.
Yeah.
Like what? It's not capped because you're still paying.
You're still paying.
Like,
You're still paying.
I mean, luckily, like I don't have that with you now.
Right.
But like I had no idea there were cap models that you continue to pay after the cap.
Yeah. And a lot of agents don't.
Yeah.
Right. So.
And they make it seem too that it's a small amount.
Yeah. It always seems like, oh, it's just a few $100s. But then you add it up at the end of the year and it's thousands.
I did the math for another agent from another company. Similar model, but has the transaction fee after the cap.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, that's like,
they add up.
it's like 20 grand.
Yeah.
He's a big
because
producer.
that 0.0008% of the price of the house, it's $400 or $500 a deal, and maybe more. So it adds up, right? So, fast forward to 2019 after I lost my gram, I was at a crossroads with my career, right? I was just a little burnt out. I wasn't sure where I was going to take it. And so I had taken like 6 months in 2018 kind of off. I still selling, but I stepped back a little bit and said, I really just want to figure out what I want to do. So after my gram passed in 2019, I decided to go just on my own. And I was like, no, I'm just going to do my own business and run it through myself. And then I met one of our very first agents. And he said, yeah, I want to come work for you. So I said, okay. And I knew that I wanted to try to adopt that structure for that agent like I had back in Las Vegas with the, lower flat fee. But of course, on a small scale, those numbers don't necessarily work for the broker, right? Because agents, they want everything. They want all the tools. They don't want to leave anything behind, but then they want the money too. So I had adopted East Key in May of 2019, and actually our structure has evolved over time, right? I was actually, we had a much higher cap at the time. We were an 80-20, which is still pretty good for this market.
Yeah, with a decent cap at an 80-20 is pretty, right in the, higher end of normal or the better end of normal.
Yeah. And then I said, no, we're not doing that anymore. So I had brought in my second agent, which in the beginning, I didn't know where it was going to become, right? I just was like, this is what I want for myself. This is what I want to be able to offer to other people. And of course, we didn't grow to where we are without our challenges, right? Because I had rolled out very quickly, like the small transaction fee with a monthly fee. And that worked for a little bit, and then I started to try to give away too much as a broker.
And I watched you do all this. We've talked about it so much.
You've been here since the beginning, yeah. And so then I had to start thinking like a business owner, right? My mind shifted from the agent mentality of give them everything to, especially to your people who are sellers and the top tier, because we want to make sure that they're happy. To business, right? And so then I had to really start looking at the numbers. But over time, right, it was about giving back to the agent, right? And making sure that they were making that additional money so that if they needed to get leads, they could invest their money. Because everything we do is an investment, right? Whether we buy referrals or we partner with a company where they give you referrals and you pay a percentage back, it's all an investment in the end. So I wanted to be able to really make sure that I was able to give as much as I could back whilst making the business sustainable. And within a year, I think I had hit about 10 agents. There was a moment when we were about 7 months into the brokerage development that I didn't know if I was going to make it. The numbers just weren't there on a small scale. And I really didn't want to have to increase what the agents were paying at the brokerage. So I kind of had sat back and said, okay, something's got to happen. Either I got to hit recruiting harder and we need to grow this, or I'm going to have to flip. So we, at that point I was like, okay, I really want to make it work. When we get to our 11th agent, something just clicked with me. And I was like, people are starting to see the value here, right? And I just have to try to fight through the growing pains of growing the brokerage to get us to a sustainable point where we're profitable. And that might mean taking some things away. But overall, we just kind of went from there.
Well, I think I saw that there were things that you had that nobody was using. It doesn't make any sense to have those. And I have that conversation all the time with agents from other brokerages where they're like, oh yeah, but you said everything's an investment into your own business, right? And they take that mentality of like, what I'm paying that brokerage is an investment into my business, and they provide me X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, but you're only using Y.
Yes.
You're not using X and Z, so are you really getting anything out of your investment? You hear all these like, oh, they pay for this thing. I'm like, have you ever gotten a lead out of that?
Used it.
Have you ever closed business because of that thing they do?
Yeah.
No, then it's not worth it.
Yeah. So, I think that our model kind of has developed over the time, right? That the agents can take the additional money they're making on the bottom line and put it where it's important to them. We still give the tools, right? Like the important tools that I think every brokerage should offer. But, having that extra 20% or 25%, whatever that bottom line ends up working out to be for that transaction, it goes a long way, right? That's your taxes, that's business expenses. It's wherever you want to put that money. It could be a 401k, it could be an IRA, it could be whatever you need to invest in for your future, right? And that was kind of where, I knew I was doing something good, right? Because like my gram, for example, when she got sick, she still had to sell houses. 40 years in this business and all the money funneled, and she still had to sell houses.
I think a lot of agents too don't ever think about retirement.
No.
And start as soon as you can.
Which is scary.
Somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Because what does that mean for us in the future? We're going to sell houses till the day we die.
You go to all these continuing ed classes and it's a bunch of salt and pepper hair everywhere, or full on Q-tips. They're just filling those rooms and they're still, they're raising their hand. Like with recent scenarios, I'm like, that's a 90-year-old.
Yeah.
Talking about their stress in a transaction. I'm 90. I don't want to be doing anything.
No. And so that's the challenge that I tried to patch, right? That I was trying to fill the void. And, who's to say that every agent here is really investing that additional money the right way, right? I try to guide everybody. I try to be there for everybody. And so that was kind of where the foundation of our business grew.
But even if they're just taking and going and having a good time,
whatever, it's their money to do it.
It's even better,
right?
Yeah, it's just as good.
But my gram was
whatever they feel like the value is, go for it.
Yeah. My gram was like, that's the thing, right? My gram was the one that really set that tone for me. So when I created East Key, my initial thing was, where do I expect this to be? And I was like, oh, if I have like 20 good producing agents, then that'd be awesome. I think that'll be good. And then it became 40, and then 40 came and went. And now it's kind of caught on like wildfire, right? Like, because now, we're going to probably be at 100 by next week, by the time I'm done onboarding. And I had agents ask, like, where do you intend to grow that? And I always say, I never thought it was going to get to be as big as it already is,
I
right?
didn't.
No, no.
Going to our meeting last week and not knowing half the people was pretty
It's gotten
wild. When
crazy.
we used to have the meetings in that 10 by 10 office in Merrimack or in
Yeah.
your backyard. Like
Yeah.
during COVID, we were sitting by your pool, like 8
Yeah.
of us,
Which wasn't a bad
which
gig.
is nice. Yeah, it was
Yeah, it was
great.
pretty
Yeah,
good. Have a little
kind of
breakfast, hang out
impossible with 100
outside.
people though.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, it wouldn't work. I don't think very well. I mean, we could how you could, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely evolved. And I think at this point, right, it's just like I want to do what's best for the agent in the end, while maintaining being profitable, right? Because that's got to be first and foremost. We got to keep the lights on if I want to continue to give that back to the agent.
Well, I mean, I've told you this a million times in the conversation we had, but you got to also be making a good living to make it all worth all the work too, where you're not
Yeah.
going to keep wanting to do it for us,
Yeah, and even that, right, has been slow, right? And I think if you talk to some of the big brokers, right, they'll tell you, "Oh, you can't make that model work." Well, you can, but you have to run things really lean.
Yeah.
And it's, we're going into year 6, so in May, which is great.
Oh, wrong one. That's the applause.
Please make sure that that's still recording.
Did you?
Please make sure that's still recording.
Yep. Time's still going.
Uh,
What? You thought I turned it off?
Well, when you said wrong one, I panicked.
Oh, no. I did the wrong sound.
Oh.
Did you make a fart noise instead?
No, I did. I forgot you're not in the headphones.
No,
I
I'm
accidentally
not.
did the rim shot, for
yeah.
a joke, but C is the clapping. I'll remember that now. C for clapping.
Yeah.
All right, sorry.
All right,
me trying to add something. Just
Oh,
derailed
for
us.
that'll be for the blooper reel.
Yeah, I tried to. I have the third party editor that I use. I got from Fiverr. He actually edits like sometimes. I had to have him put. He took out a scene or a spot where I was coughing in one of the recent ones.
Yeah.
I had to be like, put that back in because it
humanizes
well,
it.
you could tell that something was missing.
Yeah.
Because it was Courtney from Summit was here.
Okay.
And it was me talking and her talking. They weren't connected. And it was because I was coughing and I was trying to flag Nick down for a drink over there. And he cut the whole thing out. But I was like, you can see that there's a disconnect for no reason. Just put the coughing back in there. It's realistic.
Yeah.
Anyway, what were we?
No, I know.
What
We
was I
ended up
applauding?
down such a
What was I
rabbit
applauding?
hole. No,
I applauded something you said.
We're going to be in business for 6 years.
Oh yes,
Which is
that was
crazy,
yeah. I can't believe I'm almost in my I'm in my 8th year of real estate.
Yeah. It goes by fast.
Almost going to be a decade here soon.
I'm not going to date myself and talk about how many. I think I already blabbed at the beginning.
you already said
so
2008. So we can do the math.
I'm a dinosaur. I'm a dinosaur.
Yeah, you're getting close to 20 years in the business.
I know, it's getting crazy. But no, I think so. We're going to be in business for 6 years. It's grown immensely. Yeah, and I love doing it, right? So I still dabble with selling for my repeat and referral clients, which is a nice change. It helps break things up for me. It also keeps me active so that I can help advise.
I think that's so important. A lot of these really big national brand brokerages, the brokers aren't out there selling.
They don't sell.
I've talked about this before, but Gary Keller was on the stand for the commission lawsuit last year. And I'm like, when was the last time Gary Keller sat across from a seller at a kitchen table and discussed commission? Why is he on the stand? It makes no sense. It's obviously a smart guy. I've read his books. He built a big major brand.
Yeah, he did amazing.
But at the end of the day,
you have to be current.
He shouldn't be on the day-to-day of real estate. He shouldn't be advising anybody on it.
Yeah. I mean, you have to be current, right?
Yeah.
And that's one thing. One of the biggest jobs I have is that agents call me all week long, right? And they want advice about listing a home, selling a home, making an offer for a buyer. Comps say this is what's happening. If I'm not current in the market and I'm not keeping up with the market, how can I give that sound advice, right?
100%.
So I think you have to still try to play that role of agent broker. And you still have to be involved enough that you can, securely advise your office. And so I do still do that with the people that I've grown over my book of business over the years. And that's important to me, right? Because those people, some of these people that I've started working with, I've helped them, their families, their cousins, their brothers. And it started with a sale in 2013, right? And over the time, I've helped more and more of them. So I'm not quite ready to shift out of that. I don't know if I ever will be. I also think it gives me a little bit of a break from running the office, right? Because that can get a little crazy from times. But most of our
You're
agents are
getting
amazing.
I'm not calling you when things are going well. I'm not calling you
That's
until there's a
it.
problem. So
Yeah.
you're getting every stressful part of
Yeah.
the business constantly from 100 people.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love our agents when things are going well. I love our agents when things are going bad. And if it's going bad, we'll get through it. Right?
I've never felt, and I mean, I've called you late at night. I've never once felt like you didn't have the time for me, or I was annoying you, or you always are just ready to help. And
Yeah.
that's so important. And I wouldn't trust if you weren't working in the business and working with your clients, I wouldn't trust you as much.
No,
either.
you'd go to someone else,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, that's a big thing for me, right? Is I was at brokers in the past that it'd be 3 days to get an answer. And I hear that all the time too.
Especially
right?
in this market,
Yeah.
3 days is a
can't.
whole listing.
You can't. I mean, over the last 2-3 years, if you waited 3 days to respond to somebody who's got a question about a listing or a buy,
Yeah, they lost that. sale.
that's gone.
Yeah.
Like that ship sailed. You're never getting that back. You're not getting the house back. You're not getting that opportunity back. So, my number one goal is to make sure that the office is supported, our agents are supported, they have what they need. And whether it's, we're celebrating somebody's massive sale or they're having an issue, I want to be there for all of it, right? This is my baby, right? I mean, really, to start a business with 1 and now to be at 100, I look at our agents like they're family. They are my family. They're an extension of my family, and I want them to succeed, right? So part of that dynamic is making sure the support's there.
Well, you've done it. I mean, I think that the first agent you mentioned was John, right?
Courtney.
Oh, Courtney was actually first. Okay.
Yeah.
But both of them, I mean, they were both early on.
And John
I
came
mean,
right behind
yeah,
him.
so I mean, both of them were early on. John right now, and Courtney's no longer, he's alive. I was about to say he's no longer with us. Courtney's alive
and well and
Yeah.
ignoring my calls. He's going to watch this.
Yeah,
Dude, you need to pick up
I'm just
the
going to clip
phone.
that and send it to him.
Yeah.
But no, I haven't heard from you either.
Yeah.
No, it's cool. He's happy with a new lady. We're happy for him.
He's
But
living life.
John is still working with it. And it's been great to see John, over the past couple of years just blow up.
Love John's story.
And I don't think if he would have stayed at the team that he was on, Keller Williams, whatever, I
Wouldn't
shouldn't
have
say
the
brokerage names,
production.
but if he hadn't come over to your model, your methods, that's a person that maybe wouldn't still be here doing real estate. I mean, he has other talents. He's a great photographer. Like he might have been just gone and been like, screw real estate, but I think having the one, when you do make a sale, when you're struggling, you keep most of your money, and having somebody that's actually there to support you is why today doesn't want to do my crappy real estate shoots.
Yeah, and I love his story, right? Because when he came over, he was really having a hard time finding his footing where he was on the team he was on. And it just took him a little bit of motivation and a couple sales. And he was like off and running. And now, I mean, for the last 2 years, he's been a top producer. His story is amazing.
In 3 states.
In 3 states. He just messaged me. He's getting an associate broker license for Mass. So good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him. I'm so proud of him. And every year it's amazing. Like when we do our awards or we do our holiday party at the end of the year, and I think back to where we started and watch his career. It's almost like a kid, right? You're like so excited about their growth. And he's somebody I'm very proud of. Yeah.
It's awesome to watch. And it's funny. We did the awards the other day. We usually do them at our yearly Christmas party.
Yeah.
This year we did it at our annual mastermind meeting. And I realized that was the first time I ever received that award sober.
Oh,
I haven't, because it was always at the party, but I also stopped drinking back in October. But anyway, I only mentioned that because I remember it's at the end of the night, and or maybe not the end of the night, but I had a few at these company parties, and I remember always hugging you and I love you, so proud of you, every time. And I don't know that just how many places that actually exist. It's such a special thing that has happened here, and you are truly proud of.
I
It's
love
not
it.
just like,
Yeah.
it's not like you honestly don't make that much off of us. So it's not like our, individual success isn't making you rich. I mean, multiply it by a bunch of people and it'll eventually be great.
Yeah. I mean,
But,
that's the goal, right?
but that's like just lends itself to you can tell that you're truly happy to see us succeed,
Yeah.
which is, I think, the whole foundation of success with
Thank
what
you.
you've built, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I love it. And I love watching people like you, like John, the people that grow, right?
The other thing too about the not taking so much money out of our pockets is we can go off and do this.
Yeah.
I can spend money. I pay somebody to sit here and watch me do this because I can't deal with the technology of it. I pay somebody else to edit it. I can go and do the silly videos. Just right before we start this, I showed you a listing video that I got.
I
coming
love
out this
the new
week.
one. It's great.
And John's another one. He goes out there and does his dinosaur
I
thing,
love
ends up
his
going
stuff.
viral, ends up on the news in Australia for his listing.
Oh, was it in Australia? I saw the Boston Globe had
some
covered it.
Australian news outlet picked it up too.
Oh, I love
Yeah,
it.
it was on a couple. I think it was on a couple channels also.
I love the creativity that everybody brings to it.
But
right?
when you're not getting, I mean, one, you give us freedom because we're not under some corporate umbrella. I just did. Nick here actually shot a video. I had put out one of my listing videos and I sent it out to all the agents. And this agent came back to me and was like, "Hey, I don't like going on camera. Would you shoot one of these on my next listing?"
Yeah.
I said,
I
"Absolutely."
remember you called me about that.
So we did it, and her broker told her, "No, you can't."
I remember you calling me about that, which is crazy, right?
Yeah.
Why would you not want the publicity?
And he told me, he said, it's just not, I called him personally and I was like, hey, what? She had said something about conflict of interest. And I was like, I don't see what the conflict of interest is. I'm just a television host at this point on this. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to, and it's like, if I do have a buyer, that just helps your seller. What's the problem?
Right.
What's the conflict? But he said, it's just not on brand for us. And it's just like,
yeah.
okay, but you're gonna hinder what your age, and I get it. Like, and I told him I got it. Like, I get it. There's nothing to argue there.
Right.
Because if it was if he was thinking it's a technicality, then we can have the discussion. But it's like if it's just against his personal preference for his brand, then
Yeah.
all right, it is what it is. But I just think I find that type of attitude to be short-sighted. You've never unless it's gonna get you sued. You've never told me not to do something.
Yeah, that's usually the hard stop, right?
Yeah.
Is once we
Yeah.
start dipping
Are you
into
breaking a
that.
law? Could somebody sue us for it? Otherwise, have at
Yeah,
it.
have at it.
Say what you want. Do what you want.
All publicity is really good, right?
Yeah, well.
And so I know. There's a gray area there sure.
Maybe not Kanye publicity or
Yeah.
Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I do agree with that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I mean, that's what's grown us, right? Is part of that, right? Because when we were new and we were in those infancy stages, agents were really reluctant, right? Because they were like, the deal's too good to be true. What, I don't know about this. And then as we grew, people everywhere in 3 states, Mass, New Hampshire, and Maine, are like, oh yeah, I've heard of your company.
Yeah.
Right. And it's because, and it's funny is like in the beginning, it was always like we were we were opening up all these office spaces and stuff. But I realized very quickly, it's not the offices that are growing our business. It's the signs in the ground.
Yeah.
Right. Or it's the agent working with another agent.
Nowadays, like if I work, I'm don't say co-broke anymore.
Yeah,
if I'm doing, if I'm working with another agent, on either my listing or their listing, and I'm, we're representing the other side. Every time they're like, oh, do you know so-and-so?
Yeah.
Because everybody knows somebody.
Somebody
and
who's
a lot of the
here.
people have come over that have been here for 30, 40 years or been in real estate, 30 years plus.
Yeah.
Everybody knows those
We
people.
love it. I mean, I love, so agents always are like, are you okay that I only do 1 or 2, right? And I look at it like, we are an all-encompassing, inclusive brokerage. We have agents who are 1 foot out the door to retiring. We have other agents who are like at the infancy, top of their career. And so there's a home for everyone, right? Yeah. And that's important.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think too, a lot of brokerages would sell that there's a home for everyone.
There's a home for everyone, yeah.
But no, specifically.
But they're not, right. Then they get in and they're like, where's your deals? Where's your numbers?
How many people have come over?
Sell.
Well, that and also, hey, we're going to train you. We're going to coach you. We're going to support you and help you grow your business. And so many. I mean, that's probably number one I hear doesn't actually ever happen.
That doesn't
And
happen.
I sat before I came over to East Key. I sat in a bunch of meetings where I heard those spiels, and then I heard from other people.
Yeah.
That's not like that there.
No.
You're not going to get what you think you're
And
going to
our
get.
training is so different, right? So like if you're a new agent, you're coming in and you're on the mentorship program, our training is totally backwards, right? So
I don't know if that's the best way to sell it.
well, it is backwards. And so from what everybody else is teaching, right? It's totally different,
Yeah.
right? Like, so because
But that might be right because I don't agree with everything
I
that
think-
everybody else is teaching.
and I
most
think
of
it
the time.
works for us,
Yeah.
right? So like what the training that we're giving, right, is what do you need to know right now? The number one thing you need to know right now is you need to know the basics of the law, right? And then you need to go out and find a client, right? Because
You
I
need to
can
know how
teach
to fill out the paperwork too.
you do need to know how to fill out the
It
paperwork, but I do that
blows my
one-on-one.
mind that you go to real estate classes, which
Yeah.
are very brief, but you never leave there having filled out a
You
purchase and
never
sales
learn
agreement.
a purchase and
crazy.
sale. Yeah. But so that should be step 2, right? Because if you don't have a client,
Yeah, you
right?
do
so
need leads.
You need
Yeah.
leads, right? So you have to get a client first. And you're always going to remember filling out that purchase and sale better when you're doing it for an actual buyer.
For sure, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I don't start with, all right, I'm going to stick you in a classroom and we're going to teach you contracts and we're
Yeah.
going to teach you this. I'm going to say, okay, you need to know the buyer agency agreement or what form you're going to use for showing now because of the NAR
Mhm.
changes. So you need that. You need to know your New Hampshire brokerage relationship disclosure, number 1, super important. And then you need to find somebody who's ready to make an offer or someone who's ready to list their home. And then what I do is you actually do the paperwork and I walk you through it in like a Zoom meeting type way. And
That's the only way I'm
well,
going to learn.
I have so many agents that don't come back with a million questions doing it that way,
Yeah.
right? Because they did it for someone.
That's what. Right in this next room is my mentor in the mortgage side, Brian, and he'll do that to me where it's like I need to learn something. He'll just do the whole thing in front of me. I'm like I'll never learn.
Yeah.
And to the point where like I sometimes I just intentionally won't come here and see him. I'll make him talk to me on the phone because I'm like if you do it, I'm never learning it. So yeah, that's definitely
You have to do it yourself.
Definitely the right way to do it.
And classroom doesn't always work. I find with the whole classroom thing, right? I would do a lot of things classroom in the beginning. And I was teaching everything 2, 3, 4 times, right? People aren't retaining it in a classroom
Because it's
setting.
not
They have
applying to a
do
real
it.
world situation.
Yeah.
So teach that lead generation, finding a client
Yeah.
thing first. That way you can
get your
teach that
social
other
media set
stuff.
up.
Yeah, I didn't even start it was like 6 months before I started my Instagram, and now I tell everybody that's social media is the only thing I do.
It's it.
Yeah,
It's
it's
it. So,
crazy.
I mean, those are the things, right? Is figuring out, your step 1, figuring out what you have for people if you don't know enough, then we need to get you an audience, right? And so putting implementing those initial things up front in building, developing processes as you go is so much more important. I mean, that's got to be step 1, right? Is getting your feet wet. Who do you know? What's your, client list possibly look like?
It's kind of funny because I never saw that side of what you do because I came
You
I
came
came here.
experienced,
Well, I
yeah.
also came doing more business than I even want to do.
Yeah.
At that point. Like
Yeah.
I did, I think my first year at East Key, I did because it was 2020. I mean, everybody did good, but
Yeah.
I think I did 33, and I've said now I'm like 25.
25
like
is
the
a
max.
happy life.
I was talking to, oh shoot, now I'm a jerk. I forgot her name. Our top producer of last year. Abby. I was talking to Abby, and she was like, yeah, I don't want to do that.
She's
many.
exhausted.
I don't want to do that many again. It's like 40,
Anything
44
over
transactions
25.
or something.
Yeah.
25 is the perfect sweet spot for me.
It burns you out.
Yeah.
25 or more is burnout. I mean, there was a year I did 30 something. I can't remember if it was like 32 or 33. I was burnt out.
Yeah.
I was burnt out. Like I needed to totally step back from the business after that. And that's not good either, right? Because that just creates the roller coaster.
Right. Yeah, you want to stay a consistent level, but sometimes you have to take it when it comes.
You have to.
I said this year, the way my pent up demand is right now, I'm like, I'm going to do all my business in like 8 weeks and then take the rest of the year off.
Take the rest of the year.
Because it's going to be, I'm about to hit that point where it's
You
just
say
insane.
that.
No, I
You
know.
say
I won't
that.
really. I've said that. I've said it before.
Oh, I know. I know.
I just
We
did,
all
I
have
did
it.
just do very little this winter.
Yeah.
But I was working on systems and I was working on new things and getting this going. Now I have a system and I'll be able to keep doing this while
Yeah, doing
producing.
the rest.
You're trying to figure this out when you're in your busy period.
Oh yeah,
bad
forget
idea.
it.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a hard part for most agents, right? Is trying to get anything accomplished during their busy period.
Yeah.
And that's where the roller coaster,
And it's
you
really
know,
tough
comes
too. I
in.
just talked about this on the last episode, but it's like people talk about work-life balance, and then like for me, it's more of like weaving life into work because you can't not help if there's like somebody's closing tomorrow and there's an issue at 7:00 at night.
Yeah.
And they're going to be homeless if it doesn't happen. Like you have to do it.
You have
There's
to
no
do it.
choice.
You have to stop what you're doing.
And then there's
do it.
also, coach in traditional coaching and training. They always teach you, time block and protect that time. And I was in a coaching program where they're like, well, why didn't you get your follow up calls? I'm like, well, I had this issue I had to sort out for my client. And like you just ignore that. The lender will take care of it. The title company will take care of it. I'm like,
no,
nobody's going to care about it as much as I do. So I need to take care of it. And no, this was a situation where nobody else was going to take care of it. And if I didn't, and I can't stand that mentality. It's like, but you will, like you said, hit that roller coaster once you get busy. And, if you did 10 closings in 8 weeks, the next 10 weeks are probably going to be dead.
Yeah.
Because you didn't stay on
time blocking is so important as long as there's not an emergency, right? So we have those emergencies come up for sure.
Yeah.
Like
one thing I figured out is like you need to leave. You can't fill every time block. You need to so that if you had time scheduled to work your CRM, and then you had to deal with an emergency. Yeah. You can move that time into another empty spot. Because originally, like when I first started trying to get really structured in my business, I'd be like, okay, I have 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. filled every day. We're great. And then it's like, oh, if something comes up, it's like, yesterday I had a to-do list like a mile long and there's not one single thing crossed off on it. Right. Because I was doing other things. Like it never goes as planned.
No, it never goes as planned. And I think that's the part about time blocking, right? Is making sure that you have the flexibility to move the time block if needed.
Yeah.
So that's a big one, right? But making sure that you still stay on task because emergencies come up, things change, showings go late, buyers start make an appointment, then they don't, so you got to ebb and flow for sure.
That's why one of the reasons I think women dominate this industry because you guys are natural, better multitaskers. That's
I just fake it till I make it.
The motherly thing is we all do, right? It's did you say it or did my last guest say it? It was something about, just when you're starting a business, like, you're just flying by the seat of your pants, like, and like I think everybody needs to see people do that. And realize like because everybody looks at somebody like you who's built a big company or somebody like me who has gotten into real estate and been successful or somebody like my producer Nick over here is making half of his income off his YouTube and Facebook videos. Just
nobody looks at me and is like, wow, he's got it put together.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, hey, you don't punch a clock. That's amazing. That's the dream to me. That's all. Dream. My only goal in life is to never punch somebody else's clock.
The dream is,
My point is though, it's like everybody, a lot of people sit on the sidelines going, well, I don't know how to do that. I don't know where to start or, they get a little bit of a way and hit some sort of roadblock and not push past it. And I think everybody looks from the outside looking in because we only post our best.
Yeah, I mean, it's like family
This will
photos.
be edited.
Yeah.
The I don't post when the deals fall through. I just don't. There's no. It's maybe I should tell those.
Yeah,
some of those stories. I mean, I have told some of those stories.
People like when you're human, right?
But I think from the outside looking in at everything, anybody that's doing well, anybody that's in anybody that's looking at somebody and they're in the position that they want to be in, they go, I don't know how to do that. I couldn't make it work. And everybody needs to know none of us know what we're doing.
We're all faking it till we make it.
None of us know what we're doing.
That's my favorite.
This is like the 8th podcast we've recorded here. We were still dealing with technical issues earlier. It's like everybody's just figuring it out as we go along. And everybody needs to know that and know that they can you don't have to go to that 9 to 5.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I look back at, even just creating the company, right? And so I'm the owner, right? But if you see me on an average day, I'm pretty much a hot mess train wreck, right? I mean, I'm multitasking.
We'll get that great picture that Courtney has of you in the office in your sweatpants.
He blackmails me with that all the time.
We'll put that up on the pod.
Oh my God. So he caught a picture of me. I'm in like flannel pajama pants and a East Key sweatshirt and I'm totally defeated. And I'm in the office and I'm sitting down on a chair. I just stopped in to pick up the mail and I get a call, and obviously from one of the agents, and it was like kind of a major thing that we were dealing with. And I'm sitting there like this with just like rubbing my head, and he caught it. He sends me send out cards with that photo on it.
Yeah,
He's always
that's
black.
hilarious.
I mean, I was on a cruise a couple months ago. I literally opened my phone. There's a text from him saying, if you don't call me soon or something like that, I'm going to release this to the world. And I've definitely been, had moments where the real me is just, it is what it is, right? I'm unapologetically myself. And some days it's tiring. I mean, I've taken agent calls while I'm trying to shower.
Oh, yeah.
So I know it sounds real like
There's a meme of like about if you have like Zillow leads, like it shows like a person reaching out and grabbing their phone in the shower, but it's like, because if you don't answer the phone when
speed
Zillow
lead.
calls you, somebody
Yeah.
else gets that lead.
Yeah, speed to the client,
Yeah,
right?
Aaron actually caught me in the shower the other day with my phone.
Yeah.
She's like, I have never seen a person text in the shower. What are you doing?
So
I'm
I
like,
don't
I'm like,
text.
I do this every day.
Yeah, I don't text.
I literally every day I'm in here.
But I definitely make phone calls and bang out some of like my to-do list more than once. I've been in the shower and been on the phone with like Amy, dealing with something for the office.
I actually now I think about it, I actually have some waterproof earbuds that I bought when I was doing swimming.
God.
Or no, Aaron got them for me for a present. And I ended up never using them because I didn't end up continuing on my swimming training. I should break those out. I could make my follow-up calls while I'm in the shower.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
you're multitasking.
Why am I
just went
why am
another
I wasting
level.
that 5 minutes every day?
Yeah.
What the heck?
Yeah, I know. Well, time, it's like the one thing we can't get back, right? And so it's, making sure we're getting what we need to done. The faster you get it all done also frees up more time, right?
Yeah.
I think there's can be a lot of procrastination.
I'm so bad at it.
Yeah.
I'm so bad with procrastination where it'll be like, I'll have a to-do list, I'll have a plan, and then like 2 hours later, I realize I'm completely off track because I've just distracted myself with something else that was easier or just not even like pointless, something.
That's a big one.
I'm so bad at it.
Yeah, I think it's a big one for most agents,
Yeah.
right? I mean, and it's always
Well, being your own boss is.
It's tough.
I mean, I am not like I wasn't a good boss.
No, no.
I had a management role before I came into real estate, and I'm not somebody to hammer on somebody about doing something. I kind of expect that people will do what they need to do.
Yeah.
And but for myself, I can't do that. I have to discipline myself.
Yeah.
To punish myself, to make sure that I'm gonna get stuff going.
Yeah, I think you have to be accountable, right? In anything you do. And so, if you really want to be successful, you really want to do the things you got to do every day, you just got to get up and do it, whether you like it or not. I think like referral follow-up, lead follow-up, client follow-up, I think that's a struggle for so many, right? Because we're like, oh, I'll call them later. I'll call them later. And then they're gone.
I hate feeling like a nag. Yeah. Because and it's like, I've even been on the flip side though, where I've been like grateful that a salesperson called me because I'm like, I've been meaning to reach out. Okay, cool. You're on the phone now. I can get it done. But like I never have to get that mentality. I always feel like I'm bothering people. Even like, I've cold called. So it's like the cold calling, you're really bothering
You're really bothering
like 100% you're bothering people.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're nice about it. Sometimes you'll even get something out of it, but you are bothering people. Yeah. So, you distracted me. You got me. We got to come up with a new system for these notes. What were we just talking about? Oh,
cold calling.
Cold calling. Yeah. So cold calling, you really are bothering. And then but I still feel that same way on the people that I know and like.
Yeah.
And that know me and like me. The people that I know, even the people that I know want stuff from me.
Well, I always like talking to you, so don't ever.
Crazy.
If you need to call somebody, you can call me.
Yeah, well, I know, but you're not gonna get me a commission check by.
No, I got
call.
nothing for you to sell.
Yeah, I need to call. Although you have started referring me for mortgages, so
absolutely, and so far it's been great. It's been
Good.
great for the mortgage side of it. And, I've even mentioned to some of the agents in the office, that
I really appreciate that. Yeah, you got me my biggest deal of all time.
Oh yeah, Jamie.
Not the biggest commission because we don't make as much on the
No.
mortgage side.
That was
But
awesome.
the biggest sale I've ever been a part of,
Yeah.
$2.1 million.
Yeah, 2.1, right? So I think the thing with that is too, right, is that where I love that you're doing that now is you are familiar with both sides, right? So many lenders are lenders at the core and they're not realtors, right? And so they don't like what
And to be honest, people should, like, if you're not trained on both,
you should know
you
enough
should-
about both.
right? You should, but also you should know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Because we get into that part where I think agents will overstep loan officers and loan officers will overstep agents sometimes
Yeah.
too, where they shouldn't, remember whose role is who. But yeah, continue.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, that's okay. But I mean, I think it's important, right? Because ultimately, the things that concern us as realtors are not going to be the same, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to be the thing where
It's
we
like
call the lender.
commitment date. So many
Yeah,
loan officers
you're not
don't
getting
care
it
about
unless
it
you
at all.
ask for it.
They're like, what does that matter? It's
Yeah.
like they're going to lose their deposit.
They're going to
if
lose their
we-
deposit if
if
you
we
don't
don't-
produce me
yeah.
something.
Yeah.
I know. And I see a lot of commitment letters come out where they're full of conditions.
Yeah.
So, maybe.
And the language is, I hate that language about if the seller accepts a conditional approval or
Yeah.
whatever in the PNS.
Then
It's like,
yeah,
it becomes so muddy.
Yeah. And it can get sticky.
We're
it
so
can get
nitty gritty
sticky.
on real estate right now. This would be irrelevant to anybody that doesn't do real estate.
Yeah, the market's changed a little bit. So all those things play a pretty big factor. The commitment date, but the bigger thing too is for a long time we saw lenders giving pre-quals and they never really looked at any of the finances, right? So
it still happens.
Yeah, and it
for 'em.
still happens.
Yeah.
So I think our concerns as agents and the lending side, it's so much more of a positive experience when everybody knows what each other is concerned about,
Yeah.
right? Because then you can open that line of communication.
Right.
And so the fact that you have experience on both sides, I think will make you a kick-ass lender.
I had a situation where it was a few days of my client not understanding their numbers from another lender. And they
Sometimes I don't understand
Well,
them either.
right, I mean,
you
but
look at
that's
the
not-
good faith and you're like, what's this?
But that's also not your job. That's not your job.
Yeah.
The lenders should be communicating and explaining.
Yeah,
things.
they should.
They just, for whatever reason, didn't connect for a few days, and they were getting more and more stressed about their cash to close number. I got the two CDs. There was it was because there was a difference between the initial and the final. But I got the two, and I looked at them, and I realized there were a bunch of charges on there that were paid outside of closing.
Okay.
That were still showing the total. There was an appraisal, there was a water
All the
test, there was
stuff they do,
and they were
yeah.
all inflated too, because as loan officers we have to
cover everything.
we have to make sure, because if we quote under, that's on our end.
Yeah.
If I and not on every fee, like insurance, we don't have to worry about that because that's not our
It's a
job. We don't know
flexible-
the price.
Yeah.
But the things that we're supposed to know the prices on, like our title companies.
Yeah.
So we use both Cohen and Summit in this
Yeah.
office and other title companies too. But if there's a difference between their pricing by $20 and I use the wrong person's pricing, I pay that $20.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah. But those numbers were doubled in that
Yeah.
CD, like
Well,
just to
sometimes
be
it gets-
safe.
sometimes
And
there's
then they
trickery.
were already paid. They
Yeah.
they had already paid their appraisal. They had already paid for it was a mobile home for FHA, so it needed the engineer report. They'd already paid all that, but it was like $3,000 of charges
Yeah.
on the CD.
That you already
but
have
within
been paid out.
5 seconds of me seeing, sorry, I'm spitting at you. I did that on every single one of these. But yeah, I was able to look at that and within 20 seconds know exactly. I'm like, there's $3,000 of charges on here.
Yeah.
And you thought it was 3,000 too high.
And more.
So you're
yeah.
100% right.
Yeah,
So-
well, the good faiths get there's a little trickery in there too, and I think it's really important. Like, buyers do know what they're looking at, what they're signing, because I've definitely seen people quote a rate verbally, and then the good faith has something different. There's points built in without buyer's knowledge.
I think what people need to know is that it's not real until you have a loan estimate.
That's it.
Anything else prior to loan estimate is not real. The loan estimate is a document that looks the same across all lenders.
Yeah.
You're going to get a loan estimate, and whenever you're doing comparison shopping, use your loan estimate. An unpopular document is also called an itemized fee worksheet. That means
Okay.
nothing.
Yeah.
And that's not guaranteed numbers at all. We're not held to make sure those are 100% correct. So responsibly, you should give an accurate, but it's the loan estimate that actually matters
It's
that you want to look at.
significant,
And if
yeah.
you're comparing pricing, make sure you're comparing loan estimates.
Yeah.
Whether that's the official,
The final,
at
like
that
that's your
point,
numbers.
if we screwed up, we screwed up.
Yeah.
We own it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, so yeah, I don't know. What else you got for me?
I don't know. Don't do that to me.
Ah.
That's a horrible way to
Sorry.
derail me.
You can cut
No,
that.
I mean we're almost an hour deep. I've been trying to keep these to
Oh.
45 minutes. I know that
It's easy.
I knew that you and I could just talk.
Yeah, it's easy.
And I think that some of these things we went super deep. On like very nitty gritty real estate stuff that's only interested to people in real estate.
Yeah, the crazy thing about real estate, right, is that at some point or another, everybody wanted to be a real estate agent, right? I feel like everybody I know is even if they're not a real estate agent, they wanted to be a real estate
I
agent
have
or they thought
had
about
conversations with probably 200 people who told me they were interested and have never done it.
And they don't, right?
and
But
it's just-
everybody's like,
And
oh,
I
it's such an
you know, I
interesting-"
still take every single one of them seriously. I still, let them know what I did and how
It's important.
try to because you never know when it's going to change somebody's life. And it's like, I have people come to me. It's like, I know they're making 45, 50K a year. I mean, that's now in this market, that's 5 sales.
Yeah.
And what's the median? Now, we did have the stat come out last year that what was the bottom 50% of agents only sold 1 or 2. That doesn't even count the people who sold 0.
Yeah.
But the median of active agents is like 12 a year.
Yeah.
So it's like, for most people, this business
It's
could
lucrative.
change your life
It can change your life
if
for
you
sure.
do all the right things.
Yeah.
And then what's the failure rate? I think somebody told me it's actually the stat when I got
It's
it was
huge.
83% are out within 5 years.
Yeah.
And I loved when I made the 5-year mark.
Yeah.
That was always in my
If
head.
you can make it 5,
And-
you're
yeah.
pretty good. You've
But-
seen a good amount of shifting in a market at 5 years. You need that longevity, I think, to know really like.
I think
all
that
of it.
Kevin Cooper, he was my first guest on here. I think he told me that number has actually gone up even higher.
I believe it's up.
Yeah.
I believe it's up.
And I just saw a stat the other day. It's like it was something like 40% of the listings are controlled by the top 10% of agents.
I
or
believe
something like
that. Well, yeah, that's always kind of been the numbers, right? Is
Yeah.
that the top 10% of the
They always
agents
said the
are doing the
80-20,
more.
the 80-20 was like 20% of the people were doing
doing all the
80% of the work. But
business.
I think that shifted
It's shifted
even
for
higher.
sure. The hard part
Especially
is
licensing got easier with COVID too because they started doing all these video classes as well.
classes and things. But the crazy part is, and what it really does make it difficult, right? Is like if you're on a team, no one really ever knows what your numbers are.
Yeah.
And that's hard, right? And then you see these team leads
Oh,
where
I
they
love
look
we're
like
going
they're
to
the
team.
huge.
We can keep going for a while while we're talking team.
they
So I have my
they
opinions on this.
they look like they're doing these huge numbers, but there's like 20
Yeah.
people doing that number,
I know.
right? And it's hard. It's hard to know who's really putting up
I
the
remember,
numbers.
and I'll say her by name because I respect her. I think she's cool and it's neat what she's done. But Lisa Chinati was on stage at a Tom Ferry event that I went to years ago. And I remember they were like, Lisa's going to do 1,000 transactions next year. And I'm like,
her whole office, I
1,000
think she got like
transactions?
50 agents.
Well, this was, she was still a team.
Oh, okay.
But it was 1,000. It was 50 agents on her team.
50 agents.
And I'm like, okay,
yeah.
well, that's 20 that's not 20 transactions per person.
Which
But-
is on the higher side.
well,
but
but also, I mean, this is why I say I respect her, and I don't mind saying her name because I'm not talking trash here.
Yeah.
Like it's to be able to find 50 people
yeah, 50 people
that
that
can
actually
do
be on
20
a
a
team.
piece?
Yeah.
is pretty nuts.
Yeah, you're
anyway.
a rock star at that point.
But I was like a brand new agent at this point, sitting there going, "How does somebody do 1,000 transactions? Well, how can I do 1,000?
Yeah.
Oh, you have to deal with 50 other people. I don't like dealing with anybody,
Yeah.
so I like to work alone."
And in
So,
hindsight,
but,
do you really want to do 1,000 transactions? I certainly don't.
I mean,
20
yeah,
is good.
I
20
mean,
is good.
I don't.
25 is good.
I don't now that I understand the logistics of it. It's like, it's just, I've talked about this with a million people, but it's like 30, 40 by yourself is kind of the max.
You're tapped.
You
You're
know,
tapped for time.
And we talked
at
about
that
Abby
point.
earlier. She didn't even have a transaction coordinator on that 44 deals, which is
She
nuts.
doesn't.
Nuts.
She is just a one man show.
Yeah.
Abby did amazing this
Yeah.
year. Yeah, she did some crazy.
Yeah, no,
numbers.
but the team thing, back to that, it's like, and hey, to each their own, but like you said, it's like they're taking all the, like some of these teams, not all of them, they all have different structures, but yeah, like you said, they're like certainly of these teams, you'll look at the stats, it's like the one guy or girl who runs the team has done 240 transactions.
Yeah.
How does the if the actual agents doing the transactions that are actually sitting down and talking with the clients and bringing them out, if they're not getting the credit for doing that, how are they ever gonna?
They're never
branch
going to
out
get on their own, right?
That's always the problem to me.
And that's the sad part.
And I see you see it all the time. Like
Yeah.
people leave their teams eventually.
They leave
Because they're like, oh, why am I? These
I'm
are
just
all
gonna- this
these
is
are all
just gonna
my
be a
people
hamster
now.
wheel.
Why am I? Why do I
Yeah.
keep? You know, and it's like, and again, to each their own. Not there's great people.
Yeah, it's
out
like
there
the
that we know
hamster
that
wheel,
run
right?
teams
Like-
that do a great job and support their agents, other teams, and all that. But I don't know. I think that you just. If you're going to go work for somebody, you just go work for somebody. While you're in real estate, that's
Right.
that's the thing I see. And then some of these teams grow so big that I'm like, to the team lead, I'm like, why don't you just open a brokerage?
Well, that's
You
it,
know?
right? And then you're managing those people. So I
Right.
think even
and,
I think
and you're
it's
still having to
different
get
too.
part of it to a brokerage.
Yeah.
And now the broker loves it because you're managing those people.
Yeah, well,
for
that's
them.
I think where the team model started, right? Brokers started to grow so big, like their brokerages started to get so big, so they bring in the infinite amounts of money, but then they couldn't manage all those people, right? So they want to cut overhead, they want to eliminate the people at the top, so let's start the team, and now you're responsible for all those people. And there's somewhere down the line that, you know, if you have a team of 50 people, that's a lot to manage.
Yeah.
And I get the ideal if you're the team lead, right? Because you're under that brokerage's umbrella, right? So you're taking on the lower liability, because really it all falls back to the head broker. But you can still kind of act as a broker.
Yeah.
But the people that are, you know, down on those teams, that's the hard part, right? Because you're not getting the name recognition. You're kind of just, it's kind of like a hamster wheel, right? You're just going to keep going around with clients.
And I've met people on certain teams, and they're like, "Oh, well, we get this, this, and this, and this." And it's the same thing we're talking about with brokers. Like, are you using it?
Yeah.
Is it producing you sales?
Yeah.
And if it is producing you sales, but you're giving up, 40% to that team lead,
30-40%. Yeah.
Would you just be better off not having those sales? You said it to me when we had our first meeting. I had brought up that, my only thing of leaving my other brokerage was that I did get leads. And you're like, go back and see how many of those you closed. Go see how much money you actually made.
Yeah.
Take those out and then calculate your numbers with
Our
the offer
commission
that I'm giving
structure,
you.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I could lose all those sales, work less,
work way less,
and make the same amount of
and
money.
make the same amount of money.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I think everybody that's looking at a team model or is on a team currently should assess that and assess it always.
Always.
And you said it early on too about, and I meant to comment on that, was we went from brokerage to brokerage and it kept getting slightly better at each one. Apply that, everybody listening, apply that to anything you do. There's no need to be loyal to some company that doesn't care about you. If you died tomorrow, your job ads are posted before your obituary, and so just always don't show loyalty to a company. Go get what you're worth. And if you want to work there, go back and tell them, hey, I can get this much there.
Yeah.
Like, know your worth and fight for it. I think that's something that as self-employed and in a commission base, like
it should always be. And every single year, it's so important to evaluate.
Yeah.
Right. Like every year at the beginning of the year, you look at what you did the year before and you need to evaluate that. What are my options? What did I bring in? How did I do? What came from which source, right? What came from my actual brokerage? What came from over here? Because sometimes those numbers don't make sense, right? And that's, for me, I've always been about the money. Like when I was 14, 15, I totally would have left one job to go to another job for 50 cents an hour.
Yeah.
Think about that, right? I mean, my first job was making $5.25.
I was going to say the minimum wage is $5.15. 50 cents was a lot.
Yeah, I made $5.25, and I definitely went and worked I left there and went to another place in the mall for $6.
Yeah.
Right, because 75 cents an hour was a lot of money,
right? And
I just still always apply that, right? I mean, it might make me sound terrible, but I love money. Who doesn't like money? So if I can go do,
they say money doesn't buy happiness. I disagree.
It doesn't buy happiness.
It's not the only thing you need.
Definitely helps.
It's not the only thing you need, but I mean, just having money in the bank really removes stress.
Yeah.
And stress is literally killing people.
Yes.
Yes. And having that removed because you actually have a savings account.
Yeah.
It does make you happy.
It does make
you
stress-free.
It's actually a lie.
Yeah.
That that money can't make you happy. It
I
does.
don't know if it's a lie because I think even
It's
if you
not
have all
the-
the money
it's
but
just not
nothing
the,
else,
It's just not the
then-
only thing you need.
Right,
You still
agreed.
need friends.
You
You
need
still
the
need
money.
relationships. You still need something that keeps you driven, keeps you active.
Yeah.
But money is cool.
Money is cool.
So no, I don't think
Money's
you sound
cool.
terrible saying that.
So for me, I just apply
Does
that.
anybody need $250 billion? Probably not.
Oh, they should share. They should
Yes,
share with
they
me.
should.
No. So I mean, I think at the end of the day, right? This industry, you work for yourself. You know, it doesn't matter which brokerage you hang your license at. You work for yourself. You're a 1099 contractor, right? And I think people forget that. They forget that they are their own boss. And so I think that's where
That's definitely a hurdle that new people have to jump over too.
Yeah.
That I think a lot of people come in going, how come nothing's happening for me? I joined this company. They told me all these things and nothing's happening. It's because you
it's
have
a
to do it
major
yourself.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, people just don't get into the business initially and say, okay, this is my business,
Yeah.
right? I make my schedule, you know, and I'm the one responsible to go find the business and find, you know, my referrals, my leads, go through my sphere, and I have to work this business like it is my career, right? And because when you get into real estate, you can either go about it where you make it a job, or you can go about it where you make it a career, and it's like anything else, right? I can't remember her name, but I watch her all the time on YouTube. She's all about business. She wants to, you know, she just did a video recently where she bought vending machines. Okay, great. You bought vending machines. But guess what she had to do? She had to go walk into businesses face to face, find the owner and say, can I put my vending machine here? Right?
Yeah.
That's
I
the
had a friend
piece.
recently talk about opening a vending machine business. I was like, do you understand how you get your vending machines places?
Yeah.
That's a sales job.
That's a sales job.
Yeah.
You've got to be willing to get out front.
Yeah.
And so real estate's no different, right? You have to figure out how are you going to connect with people. It's a people business.
Don't
right?
be a secret agent.
You cannot be a secret
Yeah.
agent because no one knows you're an agent if you're not willing to put yourself out
Come
there.
use the podcast studio at Home Choice Lending.
Yeah.
And put your face out there.
Yeah, totally.
I'm the only one using it. There's plenty of days a week to use it.
Yeah. I mean, I'll never forget one of my first listings I ever took, right? So, like I mentioned, back when I got in, Zillow wasn't a thing. Facebook wasn't really a thing. Like nothing was a thing, right? We had no internet. Realtor.com was selling like single page websites for $99
The
a
MLS
month.
existed. by
The
then, right?
MLS
You weren't-
existed.
You didn't do
No,
the
I'm
paper
not
listings,
that
right?
old.
Okay.
I'm not that old. We weren't still
It
working
was,
out of
it was
a-
only
We had the
5
MLS.
or so years before. I
Yeah,
think,
so
though,
we
right?
had the MLS, but your only way, like we called expireds. We open housed, we door knocked, we did this stuff the old school way. And if you were shy, you were not going to make it. You just weren't. You had to get out
That's
there.
what is great now is like I've done all those things too, but now you can kind of be
You can be a little shy and
you
get
can,
by.
and like you have to do something.
You have to do
But
something.
you can, I mean, social media to me, and some people it's different. They'd rather have a face-to-face conversation or call somebody than put their face out to the world. But for me, it's like, that feels less socially invasive to me.
It is.
I can just throw something up there. If people want to watch it, great.
Yeah,
If they don't,
if not,
I know.
Next video. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember like, you know, being new to the business, and it was like a sink or swim, right? For me, when I first decided, I like up and quit my job one day and was like, I'm just going to go sell real estate in the worst market of all time. And here we go. And so I remember it was like 6:00 at night. I was at the office. I'm making cold calls to expired listings. And this guy.
Those are warm calls. Those
Oh
aren't
yeah, they're
cold.
warm. They're warm. I guess
they
they're
wanted
warm.
to sell their house.
Yeah. Well, the
Cold
problem
calls
was
are
is
the
you
people who aren't
couldn't.
doing anything in the market.
Yeah, that's
in my
true.
opinion.
That's
No,
true.
It is the same as a cold
the
call.
problem was that no one could sell their house,
Yeah,
right? So
right.
you literally got the listing so that you could put your sign out front, knowing that it was never going to sell,
Yeah.
so that you could do open houses, so that hopefully you could get buyers and then sell them something, right? Because everything crashed so hard, nothing, you just couldn't sell anything. I mean, I still made a living in it, right? I wouldn't be here today if I didn't figure out a way to make a living.
A lot of people made money back then. I mean,
You could make
if
money.
you knew investors that
Yeah.
were still flush with cash, they were
Yeah.
scooping up quarter price properties.
Yeah, totally. And I had a few investors that I met along the way. But I remember the guy, one of the first people I finally got on the phone, and I said, I said, yeah, I'm calling about, the house. And he was like, yeah, he was kind of rude. And he goes, yeah, it didn't sell. And I said, well, what if I said, I think I could get it sold for you? He goes, well, you can come over and talk to me. I said, okay, well, when's a good time? He's like, well, I'm home now. I threw my coat on, stuffed the stuff into my bag, and went to meet this guy that, alone at 7:30 at night in the dark at some strange house,
Yeah,
right?
people don't realize how, especially for women, how unsafe this business can
And
be.
I just was like, okay. And I remember showing up and my nerves were shot. I was like, oh, I hope this guy isn't a creep. You don't know. You know what you're walking into. But I got the listing. It was way too high, right? But that I knew at that moment when I walked in and I got the listing, when the guy was already kind of so-so, it was meant for me, right? So you get that feeling, you almost get that like hit of dopamine, right? When you make that sale
Oh,
or
yeah.
you get the listing or
It's not happening to me
whatever.
anymore, but
No,
it
no,
doesn't move the needle
that
really
means you
anymore,
gotta-
like mentally. That's why I do all these other things.
yeah. So
Because I still love real estate. I still enjoy seeing people complete their goals, but it doesn't give whatever.
doesn't give you the rush
it's
anymore.
just, that's what I do. Right?
Yeah.
It's commonplace now for me. My favorite calling expireds thing that ever happened. Got a guy on the phone, do whatever my intro pitch was at the time, and he goes, "I'm unloading a fucking truck down here in Merrimack. Unless you're gonna come fucking help me, shut the fuck up."
Oh.
I was like, "All right, well, what's the address?"
I'll come with the van right now.
You need help? What's the address? He's
Yeah.
like, "What?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"I'll come help." He's like, "Oh, sorry. No, I'm fine, but call me later." It never became anything. I did end up talking to him. It never came anything, but it was just me being willing to go, "Yeah, I'll come help you."
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Not even not phased. I mean, if you cold call, you get used to that. Like, like people swearing at you.
People get mad at
like
you.
saying the worst things. So
Like we just
we are well over
okay,
an hour
I'm
now.
so sorry.
I'm gonna wrap it. No, it's fine. I just
I can keep going.
No, it becomes. I mean, at some point, it becomes the equipment runs out of room.
All right.
Good to go.
The batteries die, and
No,
no, I'm just gonna wrap it up.
good.
Don't try to talk to me anymore.
Because we'll be here for another hour.
Well, then it's gonna cost.
Hopefully
you
you get enough
more.
content.
No,
so.
there's tons there. So thank you so much. Where do people reach you? Where do they find East Key if they want to come over and join the best brokerage in Southern New Hampshire, all of New Hampshire in the world?
Yeah, so they can reach out to me directly. My number is 603-233-0197. I am on our website at www.eastkeyrealty.com. If they go to their agent page, they can scroll down and find me and send me a message directly through there. I do believe there's also a contact form on there under our Join Us page that they can put in and it will come straight to me. But they can email me at crystal@eastkeyrealty.com and I'm happy to chat with anybody if they're thinking about coming over.
And I will tell you, Crystal's very low pressure. She'll help you go over the numbers to make sure, make you see that if it makes sense or not for you. We talked a lot about the number breakdown. She's very adept at looking at your plan, looking at what she can offer you, and telling you what the difference will be.
We actually had an agent go to South Carolina, and when it was funny when she was shopping brokerages, she sent me the plans.
Yeah.
And said, "Could you look at all this and tell me what you think?"
And she's still licensed here.
And she's still licensed here
and still
as well.
making sales from South Carolina.
I know.
Yeah.
I know, Jackie.
All right. Well, thanks a lot.
Yeah. Thanks
Good.
for having me. This
Yeah,
has been
you're
fun.
welcome.
Yeah, it's always good to chat. So,
I'll talk to you again immediately today, I'm sure.
I'm sure as soon as we're done, we'll have another hour conversation. No, I'm kidding.